Hello everyone. Today we will look at how icon-based programming can be used to program a manipulator robot, something that we have discussed in one of our lectures. And alongside this manipulator robot, we will also program the carousel, that spinning thing that you see next to the manipulator robot. Now, as far as the programming is concerned, we are using a software known as RoboSim 5250. This is typically used for computer integrated manufacturing. Again, one of the concepts that we have covered in our sessions. So what I'm going to do is, in the first instance, I will show you how programming can be done using the icon-based mode. There's also the opportunity for you to use text-based programming within this environment. Although it is not as complicated as C or C++, it is pretty straightforward, but as we have covered in our classes, the trend is now moving more towards icon-based programming rather than the text-based one, because it is easier to work with them. So let me now open a new RoboSim workspace. So whenever you click on this icon down here, it will open up this environment for you. You can either open an existing program that you already have, or you can create a new workspace. So in the first instance, let me create a new workspace and show you how it all looks like. So this is what you will see in the beginning. By default, you have the manipulator robot in your work environment. Now, if you want to add more products within it, you can do that by going into this object command over here. So from this point, you would have to click on new, and it will open up a few options that you can now incorporate within your workspace. Okay, so if you look into this, you will see the very first one is the carousel. We will come to the carousel in a few minutes. Let's first have a look at our manipulator robot and what it is capable of doing. So what you see over here, these are the different parts of your manipulator robot. So if I were to click on any one of them, they will show me movements in the virtual space. Now please note, nothing is happening in the physical space at the moment because I am in the simulation mode. When you are in the simulation mode, this green color will be lit up at the background. Now, if I were to start moving the robot in the physical space, I would have to click on control. This would create a connection between the physical world and the virtual world, and we would be able to program the robot appropriately. Now, in the first instance, I would just like you to have a look at how all of these movements work and what they can do for your robot. Okay. Now, as far as the programming is concerned, the first thing you would have to do is you would have to select which mode of programming you want to use, text mode or the icon mode. So let's start off with the text mode of programming. Now here you can see a few options that you can utilize. Now some of these options you might not get to use because we are not attaching different auxiliary equipment to our environment at this stage, but most of them will be of quite use to you. For example, this first one, which is move to or C move to. Now you might be wondering what is the difference between the two. They're pretty much seem the same. The difference, as you can see, is in the shape of the arrows that you can see right here. So the C move to will take you into a linear motion right towards point that you have defined in your workplace. On the other hand, when you use the move to command, you can add multiple points within your workspace and it will move to that point by going through all of those points that have been defined. This is the home position. This needs to be selected at the very beginning and at the very end, just to make sure that the robot can start and end at the same place. This is to avoid any obstructions or hitting anything that shouldn't be there to begin with. This right here is the command to open or close the gripper. This right here is to control the speed. This one is if you want to add a delay. Then these are the options that you would be able to see on the panel down here, and all of these options can be utilized to add different aspects to the system. So you will have TTL, and those TTL commands can be added to incorporate different auxiliary equipment to our system. Now, if we were to program this robot, let's start with how it will work. If I click on the control command, so once I click on the control command, it will ask me to do a hard home. Now, in case you're wondering what is a hard home, consider it to be the origin of the manipulator robot. So that is the position where it will start any of its commands. Now as you can see, the robot will start to move. I don't have to program it because the home position is already defined within the system. Right, so this is the home position for the robot. Now in the first instance, what I want to do is I want to check if my movements will take place appropriately or not. So I will move the robot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the shoulder, and then I will show you the shoulder moving in the physical world. Okay, so let's see if this option works. As you can see, we can move every single thing that is on our robot, and that is important to check before we start programming, in case there is a motor that is stuck, or there is something stuck within different pulleys that are within our robot. Now as far as programming is concerned, again it is quite straightforward, especially if we are using the icon based programming mode. So the very first thing I will do is I will simply start a home position. Okay, this is my home position. I will start with that. Then I will click on the command move to. Now once I click on that command, it will ask me move to where, and right now this is empty. So in order for me to give the system some points where the manipulator robot can move, I have to come over here. Okay, this record button will record the different points that I want my robot to move towards. Now in order to make that happen, I will go to the motion section. Let's say that I start off with the base position moving a little bit. Okay, I have moved the base as much as I want to move it. I can see it in the virtual world. The same movement can be seen in the physical world as well. As you can see, the robot has moved. But just to show you again, if I bring it back, the same movement that you can see in the physical world is on in the virtual world as well. So at any given time, you will know exactly where your robot is. So once you are happy with the position of the robot, and let's say that this is the starting point that you want to work with, you can click on this record button. You can call this P1. So that would be your point number 1. Okay, done. This point will be recorded down here. Let's record some more points. Okay, now I don't want it to go back. I want it to come downwards. So I will bring it down. I can do this for quite a while, depending upon the fact that I do not reach the physical limits of my robot. Once that happens, we will see a warning message up here, and your robot will stop to move. And please do not do that, because that will cause damage to the robot. So once I'm happy with this position, I will call it again. I will click on this red button and I will call it point P2. Okay. Now if I want to move it to a different position, I can do that as well. So right now I'm simply showing you how different points can be made within our workspace. Okay, so at the moment I have 3 points available to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the program option. I will then click on where I want the robot to move towards. So let's say that in the first instance I want the robot to go home, and then I want the robot to move to point P1. Now if you remember, point P1 was the movement of my base. Now after that, I don't want it to move to point P2 directly. I want the gripper to open. Now if you see over here, you will see 2 options. Either the gripper will open or it will close. Okay, in the first instance, let's just open the gripper. Once we open the gripper, let's move it to point P2. At point P2, let's say that we close the gripper. Okay, then let's say we move to point P3, and once it has reached point P3, let's home this. Okay, so everything that I did in my virtual workspace, point P1, P2 and P3, I have them all over here. In addition to those points, I have added a couple more things. I have added the home positions, and I have added option of the gripper to open or close. Now the very first thing you would like to do is you would like to test whether this will actually work in the physical space or not. Okay, so once you have made a program, the very first thing you should do is test it, and you should never test it in the physical world straight away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the simulation mode, and as you can see now, the background has turned green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this program and see if it actually will work. And as you can see, everything that I programmed here is happening in the virtual world. Now it is a safe bet that it should work in the physical world as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on control. Okay, now as you can see, the background has turned red, so my system is now ready to play the program in the physical world. So I'm going to click on run, and then the robot will do exactly the same things that it did in the virtual world a few seconds ago. That's the gripper opening. That's point number 2 that the robot is reaching towards. That's the gripper closing. And then it will move to point number 3. So this is point number 3, and now the robot will move to a home position. There we go. This is how we program a manipulator robot. Thank you very much.